Welcome to WID, helping millions understand the money behind America's biggest stories. Because every dollar has a story, and today we're decoding this one. Welcome to our latest explainer. I am absolutely fascinated by today's topic because we're looking at the invisible, yet completely undeniable, global dominance of the US dollar. We're going to break down exactly why the system exists, how it works behind the scenes, and, most importantly, how understanding it gives you a massive advantage in your everyday life. Let's get into it.
So, what if I told you that one of America's most powerful exports isn't oil, it isn't the latest tech, and it's not even Hollywood movies? It's paper. Well, actually, scratch that. Nowadays, it's more like digital dollars. But think about this. Every single time someone buys oil in another country or a foreign central bank holds reserves, there's a very, very good chance the US dollar is involved. It is arguably the world's most vital product, yet you literally can't buy it in any traditional store.
But here is the real question, the one we really need to answer. If the dollar is so incredibly powerful globally, why are so many of us still struggling to afford just the basics, like groceries, housing, and healthcare? I mean, a construction worker in Ohio, a nurse down in Texas, and a cafe owner in Florida have probably never even crossed paths. Yet, decisions made by central banks and foreign governments thousands of miles away are quietly but heavily influencing their mortgage rates and their everyday business costs. It's a huge paradox, right?
All right, let's look at Section 1, the mechanics of trust, decoding global money.
Okay, to really grasp this whole thing, we first have to understand what a reserve currency actually is. Basically, it's a massive stockpile of currency held by central banks all around the world just to prepare for international transactions. In the US dollar, it acts as the absolute bedrock here. Whether we're talking about global oil markets or the entire international banking system, the dollar is the trusted medium of exchange. It's essentially the native language that global finance speaks. And wow, the sheer scale of this is just staggering. We're talking about the US dollar making up a massive 80% of global transactions, compared to literally all other currencies combined. 80%. It proves a pretty funny point when you think about it. The US dollar actually travels way more internationally than most of our passports do. That massive dominance represents pure global trust in the stability of the American financial system. Moving on to Section 2, the ripple effect, from global banks to Main Street. Just think about the number one for a second. How is it even possible that just one single currency can connect billions of people across the globe? All while quietly driving local housing costs for that Ohio construction worker and bumping up everyday inflation for our Texas nurse. The demand for this one single currency creates these massive ripples that cross oceans and land right squarely on our front doorsteps. Because here's the kicker. Global demand for US dollars directly dictates your everyday financial reality, period. When foreign investors buy US debt, it actually helps keep our interest rates lower. But when those global dynamics shift, it drives up local mortgage rates, it impacts the nasty inflation you feel at the supermarket, and it determines your personal borrowing costs. That global demand is the invisible string tied to whether or not an average family can finally afford a new home. So it's a delicate balancing act. For America as a whole, this global dominance means lower national borrowing costs and massive business influence worldwide. It also means cheaper imported goods for you and me, which is why your flat-screen TVs and electronics cost less. But the trade-off? A strong dollar makes American-made goods way more expensive for the rest of the world to buy, which creates some seriously tough export challenges.
You know, they say money doesn't grow on trees, but man, it definitely racks up frequent flyer miles. But here's the thing. America's biggest financial advantage isn't just its massive economy. There's a broader, kind of shifting horizon we need to keep our eyes on, because in global finance, nobody stays comfortable forever.
Which brings us to Section 3, the horizon. Will the dollar lose its crown? So on one side of the ring, we have the traditional US dollar system. It's established, it's deeply trusted, and it's heavily integrated. But on the flip side, we're seeing emerging alternatives. Other national currencies are stepping up, and we are absolutely seeing the rise of central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. Now, countries are exploring these digital alternatives simply to diversify their own reserves and reduce their total reliance on the dollar. Look, nobody has a crystal ball, right? But there are three pretty plausible futures we need to be prepared for. In an optimistic scenario, the dollar remains king, and your household borrowing costs stay relatively stable. Neutrally, we might see a slow, shared dominance with other currencies, leading to minor, gradual adjustments in inflation. But
In a pessimistic scenario, a rapid move away from the dollar could mean significantly higher borrowing costs and way more expensive imports for American households. And that brings us to a really crucial realization. The real reason the dollar dominates actually has surprisingly little to do with the physical paper itself. It's built entirely on trust, confidence, and strong institutions. And if trust is the foundation of global finance, then personal preparation absolutely has to be the foundation of your own financial resilience. All right, let's get practical. Section 4, the playbook, how smart people adapt. Because this global dollar demand literally hits your wallet, you absolutely have to stay ahead of the curve. If global shifts point to inflation, you need to understand that before locking in a 30-year mortgage. If a weakening dollar suggests higher interest rates down the line, that is your cue to build up emergency savings and aggressively kill off any high-interest debt right now. Just like countries diversify their reserves, smart individuals diversify their income to safeguard against global rate hikes. And hey, this is absolutely vital for you entrepreneurs out there too. Remember our cafe owner in Florida? Small business owners have to monitor international trade trends because the strength of the dollar dictates the exact cost of their imported coffee beans and their espresso machines. Factoring currency fluctuations into supply chains isn't just a trick for Wall Street anymore. It's exactly how Main Street survives. Once you understand the macro, navigating the micro becomes a whole lot easier.
Financial literacy is honestly the greatest investment you can ever make. Understanding the US dollar gives you a brand new lens to see the world so much more clearly. But I want to leave you with a question today. If global superpowers are actively hedging their bets against the dollar right now, are you doing enough to protect your own? Remember, every dollar has a story, and now you know this one. See you in the next decode.
WID, Wealth in Depth. Every dollar has a story.